Well, we're at the end of the year, and Talking Technical is also reaching its end because in about 2 weeks from now, all the television shows will close. So, unfortunately, we will not be able to cover all the requests. So, we are flooded with requests, and I don't think that we will even get close this week to handle all the requests. Therefore, I urge you to go to www.fransdeclair.com and then enroll as a subscriber, and then you can always request for some shares to be analyzed. But I would like to kick off with Jimmy's request. Jimmy said to me, Frans, I am the proud owner of Naspers shares, and I like the share, but and everybody is telling me that I must fall in love with the share because there's a value unlock. He says, well, I cannot see any value unlock in my portfolio. I can just see that the share is struggling. Now, Jimmy, you're quite right. The viewers know by now that I warned about this share price, the chart of this price, many years ago. In 2016, 2017, I said, whoa, I cannot understand this chart. It's just going up. It ignores all the technicals. Eventually, the technicals caught up with Naspers, and I cannot see the value unlock here because if we will look at process, and we will look at process now in a few minutes from now, Naspers had this beautiful rally up to 4,000 Rand. It came down to 2,400. It had a wonderful rally almost back to about 4,000 Rand. And that made a double top. Now, as we know, a double top is a negative formation. There's the 40-week moving average. And the 40-week moving average also turned into a resistance. Now, I know this is the unbundling of process out of the company. Yes, because you got process shares with your Naspers. But if you look at the share, I say, Jimmy, the best is just to wait for the share to break above this level. Let's get that level. And that is the overhang resistance. And it fell off a cliff with the unbundling. It bounced up. It came back. It tried to lift its head. It cannot. And the big story here is the share must get above, and there's the level, 2,340 Rand, to keep us happy, to say this share can go even higher, it can maybe recover again. But the value unlock, I don't know about the value unlock. I just see that there's some sellers around and they're keen on selling the stock, and only above this level I will get positive about the share. Let's have a look at process. Now, remember, process is now, let's call it, well, not the baby, but it's the big technology arm of Naspers. It listed close to about, let's call it, the 1,200 Rand. Now it's trading at 1,006. The big thing, it struggled to hold above 1,000 Rand. So for me as well, from 1,200 to 1,006, I can see no value unlock on this chart. In actual fact, I can see a chart that's telling me that there's some keen sellers around. So maybe there is a value unlock for I don't know who. There's a selling going on here, and I will only get, and there's your overhang resistance. This resistance is sitting at just above 1,040. In actual fact, it sits at 1,041.50 cents. If it can get above 1,041.50, I will say, yes, there's maybe a relief bounce here. It can maybe turn around. And sometimes you do find it that shares struggle after unbundling, find their feet, build on a consolidation, and only then bounces up. I really hope that's the case, because a lot of investors are despondent, and Jimmy is one of them. But Jimmy, unfortunately, you've got the shares. I hope you bought them many years ago, because remember, Naspers was many years ago a share of 400 Rand, 300 Rand. So if that's the case, it's not still, then you're still nicely in the profit. But unfortunately, if you bought it maybe a year or two ago, then unfortunately, I think you've got a problem. Let's have a look at another share, PSG. Now, PSG is showing me some early warning signals that I would like to show you guys. Now, Ed asked me about it. He said to me, Frans, can you maybe look at PSG? Because the share still looks okay to me on the long-term chart. It looks like it doesn't want to go any further. Now, there's your 40-week moving average, Ed. It is playing around. It's almost, you can say, it's flirting around this 40-week moving average, and it must make its mind up. The 40-week moving average, Ed, is sitting at 238.16, and yesterday it closed just below that at 238. So what it tells me, and this is a weekly chart, of course, it tells me that the share needs to make up its mind to say, I'm going to change 238 into a support, and then I want to go higher and reach for previous high levels. Because what I see here, now it's either one of two scenarios, and I'm going to go back to the longer term chart now. You either see this inverse head and shoulder here, and that's the left shoulder. There's the head, and we're working on the right shoulder now. The neckline is sitting at 244.50, and if that change into a support, we can go back to the previous all-time high of around 295. There's something else I would like to show you. Always remember that a formation that's been built maybe in 2 or 3 months has not that importance than a formation that built over a couple of months or even a year or two. Now, if I look at this, then I say to myself, this is another head and shoulder formation. This is the massive left shoulder. There's the right shoulder. And there's the head. And we're working on the right shoulder now. So it's either one of scenarios. Either this short term, let's call it the short term head and shoulder, inverse head and shoulder is going to break to the upside. Or the longer term pattern say to you that it can maybe break to the downside. And that neckline is sitting at, let's call it 200 Rand on the dot. Now if PSG breaks below 199.57, let's call it 200 Rand, then we can see this head and shoulder breaking to the downside. And let's just get the momentum. If it breaks, momentum can take the share then all the way down to 120. Now, of course, everybody will say that cannot happen because it's such a wonderful company, everything goes right. But I would like then to go to its big, you can say daddy, and that is Capitec. Because Ed also said, but Frans, if I like my PSG shares, how does Capitec look? Now let's have a look here. I mean, Capitec is now one of those darlings like Naspers been before. And I've said on the show many a year ago, I said, Naspers is one of those shares that does not believe in technical analysis. The share just goes up. Now, Capitec is almost in the same boat now. It just ignores any technical warning. It just say, I want to make new highs and I am a happy man and I'm just going to go higher and higher. Now, if you can have a look here, I mean, this is the weekly chart from September. I mean, that is 2-3 months ago. It rallied all the way from 1,100 Rand to 1,430 Rand. That's almost in one go. But what worries me is, can you see there's maybe a double top? And I've showed you earlier on that even Naspers, let's call it the mighty Naspers, that ignored all the technicals, eventually got a major sell-off by a double top. Now, let's have a look. This is maybe an irregular double top because the high was 1,400 on this chart, the weekly chart, the line chart, and we're just below that. So this double top scenario will take quite a while before it comes into action. Now, let's have a look. The low of that was just at 1,100. So this double top will only come into action, can you believe it, if it breaks below 1,100 Rand. And only in that, if that happens, then the share can go, let's have a look, can you believe it, all the way down to 813 Rand. But it's early days. So for me at the moment, I'm nervous about Capitec because the rest of the market is struggling. And remember, it was the same story with Naspers. The rest of the market didn't do anything for 5 years. Naspers made the new high after a new high and everybody got sucked in. Now, the same with Capitec. The market is struggling, but Capitec is going up. And that's why I want to say to Ed, I'm nervous. There's your 40-week moving average. The 40-week moving average sitting at 1,299 Rand. It's quite a while from here. I mean, it's 130 Rand from here before you get to 1,300 Rand. But this share had a wonderful rally. And once again, Naspers had the price to earnings ratio of well above 100. It rallied way above 4,000 or 3,000 Rand. Here you sit with Capitec. Capitec sits on a price to earnings ratio of close to 29. And it pays a dividend of 1%. And if you compare that to other banks, I think this share, the price to earnings ratio, is maybe just pricing in too much. And always, I just say, if the price to earnings ratio is high, that means that the management of the company are not allowed to make any mistakes. The moment there's a mistake, everybody comes in and they just sell the share. So at the moment, everything is wonderful with Capitec. The results is nice. It's on the brink of a new high. The top 40 is struggling, but this share is flying, and I'm always worried about it. So therefore, I will worry when the share remains below 1,436. That was that high. And of course, the next warning will only be below this 40-week moving average, 1,299 Rand. So unfortunately, I think for the moment, you are too late. If you want to chase the share, it is too late to chase it because it's a momentum play purely. We can easily see a pullback. Let's have a look. I mean, Capitec helped a lot of guys. Let's have a look at Sasol before we drop off for an ad break. Let's have a look at Sasol. And there's Sasol. Sasol is at last building on a consolidation. And I personally want to say that I think all the bad prices and all the bad news is in Sasol's price. Now, there's the consolidation right at the bottom. And I would like to say if it can break above this line, then I think this waterfall formation can turn into, there's the waterfall formation. It can turn into a V-reversal of recovery. There's the golden rule. The golden rule is this horizontal resistance. There you are. And I'm going to use it, and I'm going to say above 300 Rand and 10 cents, let's call it 300 Rand. The share can break to the upside. Big resistance at this 40-week moving average of 347.37. This consolidation tells me the bad news is in the share price. And while it's above this low, and that low is sitting at 244, the momentum can swing to the upside. And remember, Sasol loves a weaker rand, it loves a stronger oil price, and I think all the bad news, let's hope it's in the price, because above 300 Rand, we can maybe sit here with a beauty, like an Impala that can give a beautiful rally to the top in time to come, if things in the company turns around and become positive.